Do you need the words here? Okay. Thank you. Where I am, God is. Where I stand, God is standing strong. Where I breathe, God is breathing life in and out and through me, as me. Where I sing, God is. Where I dance, joy lifts my feet. Where I live, beauty's flowing free, in and out and through me, as me. Oh, where I doubt, God is the faith in me. Where I cry, God is the comfort there. Where I seek, God is the answer, here and now and forever and ever and ever. Where I speak, truth is. Where I work, love is my career. Where I play, God is playing boldly, in and out and through me, as me. Oh, oh, ooh, ah, where I am and where I stand, where I play, where I work and breathe and move and be, where I sing, where I dance, my dance, my dance, wherever I go, where I pray and take and give and live. God is, I am, love is, and I am, I am. Thank you.
Could feel the stillness in the room. Nobody wanted to break the trance, right? Thank you so much, Brittany. So what I love about that song is that it really demonstrates the interconnection between the first principle, which Ken covered last week, and the second principle, which I'm going to be diving into today. So we have been looking at Unity's 5 principles, right? And the first one, there is only one power and one presence, active as the universe in my life, God. And whatever triggers that word God might have for you, the invitation is to just breathe into it, right? Because that understanding of God, there are many names that are all speaking to the same thing. For the purposes of clarity and ease, I'm going to be using the word God, right? We're not talking about a deity that is anthropomorphized, that is personified. We are talking about the divine beingness that is all consciousness. And this is part of Unity's gift, is this understanding of the evolving consciousness of how we understand even what God is. Ken talked a little bit about this last week, that the idea that we created God in our image. And what Unity is attempting to do is to say it actually is the reverse. There is that which is everywhere present, and we are made in the image and likeness. And that is our second principle. We are divinity in expression, and therefore we are inherently good. And right here, there's a little hiccup, right? What does that mean, inherently good? So, Unity is about 130 years old, right? The tradition. So it's why it's called New Thought is because it's a new thought. When we compare it to the legacy of the more systematic traditions, right, that have been around for thousands upon thousands and thousands of years, we are a new idea. We are a new thought. And part of how Unity came into being was within this understanding of God as perhaps not even being inherently good. Ken touched on this last week as well. We used to say God the good, and we have eliminated that from our conversation. It's still lingering though, can you see here? And therefore we are inherently good. And the reason why it's lingering is because this evolving consciousness is moving us into a new understanding. And where we used to be was this idea that we were born in sin. Where we used to be was this idea that there was something inherently wrong with us, that was actually the beginnings. And there are some faith traditions that believe that infants are born into sin, right? New Thought was saying, no, we are not born into sin. We, at the root of our root, at the base of our base, are inherently good. Now, that doesn't mean that everything we do in time and in space is inherently good. But it means that what is available to us always is that which is the divinity that we are. And that is inherently good. There's no trickster God anymore. There's no God that's trying to pull the rug out from underneath you. There's no God that might decide. Think about the story of Job. That's just, good man doing good works, and God just decides to test him. That understanding of God is not what Unity believes. Unity believes that the understanding that is the beingness of the divine is a constant. It never changes. It never alters. It is reliable. It is dependable. It is something you can lean into. It is not something that you have to worry may or may not show up as your life. It is always available and always accessible. That is the truth. So if we are made in the image and likeness, if we are these divine expressions of that which is a constant, of that which is always available, of that which is fully present, then guess what? It's available as us too. So there's an evolution within the context of, so Unity is grounded in Judeo-Christian, with a lot of Hindu Vedic stuff thrown in as well. Charles Fillmore studied the Hindu Vedic system. And so we have this Judeo-Christian and we have this Hindu influence. And the thing about Unity is that we are open at the top. So while we have the things that we know and believe, we are also open to the fact that there is an evolving consciousness that will continually be revealing more and never less of who we truly are. So as we evolve, we're evolving personally and we're evolving collectively. So if we look at the Judeo-Christian tradition, one of the most powerful and the most sacred of prayers in the Jewish tradition is the Shema. And the Shema says, "Hear, O Israel, Adonai our God, Adonai is one." And again, remembering the historical context that this burst of insight about who we are and what God is arose at a time when there were gods everywhere. There were gods all over the place. Everybody had their own god. Everybody prayed to a number of different gods. It was very anthropomorphized. Gods literally walked the earth with you. Well, what Judaism said was there's only one. There's only one power. There's only one presence. It was radical at its time, right? Radical at its time. And then Jesus comes along. Now remember, there was no Christianity when Jesus was walking the planet, right? Christianity didn't exist when Jesus was walking the planet. What he was a devout Jewish, probably rabbi, right? That's what his foundations were. So what he did was take the Shema, the Holy of Holies, right? That there is only one. And he transforms this into I and the Father are one. He not only says that there's only one God, he takes it that next step, which is that if there's only one power and one presence, then I also have to be it. Because nothing is separate. That was radical. Can you feel how radical that was? That there truly is no separation? No separation. And what does that actually mean if we are actually one? Whatever our understanding of God is, in Jesus' time it was the Father, right? That was the language of the time. And it's actually me. So Myrtle Fillmore puts it this way. I am is God expressing in you, in your mind, your soul, and body. Now, Myrtle, who I love, I think she's just amazing in terms of her clarity around what she knew and understood, was also writing 120, 90, 100 years ago. What we would say now is that I am is God expressing as you, as your mind, as your soul, as your body. Can you feel the subtle difference there? We are removing a veil of separation. It's not something that's in me, it's something that is me. And that too is a very radical idea. So God is, I am. Whatever it is that you recognize, that you understand God as, right? Well, it is also the I am. So if you recognize that God is power, then guess what? I am the power. And if you recognize that God is compassion, then guess what? You are compassion. That is the equation. There is no separation. And yet we feel like there's separation, right? We think, well, I can't be, the cosmos, all of that, that's so big. How could that possibly be me? What if it actually is you? What if all the power of the cosmos, what if all of that infinite awareness is actually available for you right now? What would you do? How would you be? How would you show up in the world if you knew that you had that much available to you? In Unity, we often talk about the stages of evolving consciousness, right? In New Thought. It's not just Unity, it's in New Thought. And so how it relates to our understanding of our own divinity is that first level is what we would call victim consciousness. And it's where we are so separate from the understanding of God, is that we think that everything is happening to us, that we are not a participant, we are being buffeted by the world. Can anybody in here relate to some victim consciousness? I have my hand up, right? This is happening to me. I'm powerless. I have no control. It's out at night, right? That is victim consciousness. And in that place, that space, we are about as far away from the I am as we could possibly be. And then the next stage of evolving consciousness is called the manifester. It can also sometimes be called the manipulator, because we can use our understanding that we're actually not powerless I actually have power. I actually have something here that's larger, so things aren't happening to me, but we think that things are happening by me. I make it happen. Me, little old me. I am so strong. And this by me is very, very much an American consciousness, right? That I am going to make this happen. I can pull myself up by my bootstraps. I can make this situation look the way I want this situation to look. Can you see why it's also sometimes called the manipulator? Because that can be what we're trying to do. We're trying to make things work the way we want them to work. But the way we want them to work isn't our divine understanding. It's our small, scared, anything but letting things happen to me. So I am going to take control. And what can often happen is in our shadow, the shadow side of the manifester is that then we start doing things to other people or to the world because better them than me. The third stage is called vessel consciousness or channel consciousness. And we hear a lot of that in Unity, all right? It's moving through me. I caught, God spoke, and I caught this idea. And it's still coming from out there somewhere, but it's actually moving through us in some way. So we're able to let go of some of the control. We're able to let go of some of the idea that we have to decide what it looks like. And we're able to surrender into an idea that there's something larger at work than just our personal egoic concerns, and that we are open to what that might be. And then the last level of consciousness is verity, Christ consciousness, the I am. And that is where any sense of separation is completely obliterated. Now, I have had moments of this in meditation, right? Anyone else ever experienced just a moment, even if it's a moment, where the sense of self, my sense of self, for a moment disappears, and there's something else that I am that is so powerful. That is what we're constantly inviting ourselves to engage with and to step into. And we do it with compassion, because as I said, I fall into victim consciousness. This is happening to me. We notice where we are centered, where are our thoughts, where are we? And the goal and the idea is that we're inviting ourselves into the I am. And one way to do that is by recognizing how God is. If we see that God is whole, God is beauty, then we get to say that about ourselves. I am whole. And then we go, I don't feel whole. And we say, but I am whole. The I am that I am is whole. So the I am is also the name of God. When Moses is at the burning bush speaks and says, I am that I am. Say that I am has sent you. That is literally the name of the divine in Scripture. So when we say I am, we are affirming that we are actually divine. That is what we are saying yes to. So the invitation with the I am consciousness is that we stand in our spiritual authority, that we allow ourselves to truly be that powerful. Not from a I can control everything kind of way, but that we are that powerful in knowing that no matter what arises in time and in space, that there is that within us that can never be hurt, harmed, or endangered. There is that we are, that is eternal. And as I say yes, it is revealed in time and in space. Everything around the I am consciousness is about the revelation of our Christ nature, so that we can show up as the name and the nature of the divine. That is our continual work within Unity. And we have affirmations, right? Affirmations have now become so commonplace that a lot of people don't even know that they come out of New Thought. New Thought is the founder of this idea of affirming, because what we're affirming is, I am peace, I am grace, I am joy. Basically, we're saying, my name is peace. My true nature is love. That's what we're saying when we say, I am. So Charles Fillmore has this quote, which I thought was very interesting, that the center of consciousness, the I am, has power just to the extent you have the courage to assert your power. Eric Butterworth would have said it this way: God can only work for you to the degree that it can work through you. And we would now say, Eric Butterworth wrote that 50 years ago, God only can work for us to the degree that we allow it to live as us. That is how we get to show up as the divine. So the invitation here is courage. I remember the first time I began to understand the power of affirmative prayer, which we're going to get to next week. The power of affirmative prayer, the power of the I am, it made me so uncomfortable. I can't even tell you how uncomfortable it made me. And part of why it made me uncomfortable was because I was still thinking that it was my little personality self that was that powerful. And my little personality self doesn't really want to be that powerful, number one. Or if it is going to be that powerful, I know that its goals and its dreams and what it wants is not necessarily grounded in the truth of all beingness. So it made me uncomfortable until I realized that it's not little DeeAnn that is that powerful. It's the truth of who I am, uniquely expressing as DeeAnn, that is that powerful. So there's an integration. There's an integration of our personality, of our divinity. We don't hate the personality. We don't dislike the ego. We are living in time and in space. We need that aspect of ourself in order to actually be in the world. But where we are living from and choosing from and anchoring ourselves from is not from that small egoic aspect of ourselves. It's from the great I am. It is from the truth of our beingness. So the thing that when we are that powerful, that we are actually anchoring, isn't something that's taking care of our small needs. What we're anchoring is the things that are transforming the world. We are part of that evolving consciousness. We are part of an awakening within ourselves and within everyone else. Because as we awaken, there's only one power, and I am it, but so are you, and so are you, and there's only one. So as I awaken, so does someone else. And as they awaken, so do I. And what we get to anchor is compassion and love and harmony and wholeness and peace and joy and abundance. That is what we are anchoring and living as the I am. Not the small part of us that wants the peace of whatever it is that we think we want, but this larger calling to be a space, to be the beingness of the divine. So the Buddha says, those who experience the unity of life see their own self in all beings, and all beings in their own self. That is where we want to choose from. That is the I am. So whatever fear you have about being too powerful, whatever fear you have about what that might mean, about taking something from somebody else, or just whatever that is, whatever story you have created in your understanding that is limiting you standing in the I am that you are, whatever that limiting story is, whether it's about not being enough or being too much, when you can see yourself You can also see everyone else as the self. And when we choose from that place, all we're doing is choosing for the greater good. That is what underlies every decision that we make when we are originating from the I am. This idea that nothing is against us. Everything is for us. And if everything is for me, then everything is for you. And that is possible. It actually is possible that everything can work for everyone's greatest good. And when we actually believe that and internalize it and own it and stand in it, this world will be transformed. But it begins right here. It begins with this work of standing in your own power, of standing in your own spiritual authority, of standing as the I am. That is your true nature and your true name. Not DeeAnn. I am is your true name. And part of what we are continually inviting ourselves into is how do we raise the veils between our understanding of the wholeness that is our birthright and our understanding that we are living in. And we cultivate that consciousness through meditation and what Myrtle Fillmore called the silence. And the silence is a very specific awareness. So meditation can have lots of pathways. We can follow our breath. We can listen to guided meditations. Meditation is this very wide, varied awareness, all of it designed to help us center. And ultimately, what we're using meditation to do is to guide us to the silence. And the silence is those moments when we don't even know there's a moment. The silence is that space where we're not following our breath anymore and we're not listening to whatever that is. We are pure beingness. So our meditation practice is all about cultivating the pathway within ourselves so that we can truly be still and know. Jesus said, "Greater things than these will you do." Greater things than these. The man walked around healing blind people. Right? Greater things than these will you do. But it asks that you cultivate that awareness of the I am. And wherever it is that you feel stuck, that is the place within yourself. So I've been having some hip challenges, and thank you all for the prayers, and I'm doing so much better. And part of it is because I decided in a moment of clarity in meditation that I am owning my capacity to heal. I am owning it. I am standing in my spiritual authority to say yes to that. And I don't know what that's going to look like in time and space. I'm not attached to what it looks like. What I am committed to is this understanding of healing that is always available and always accessible. And that has shifted my experience. That's what I want to invite all of you into. Standing in your capacity to truly be the great I am. It is available and accessible as each one of us.